I'd like to hear from each of you. Just give us a sense of what happened.
I never doubted that he would not win, because I just felt strongly that the American people have had enough of what was happening in this country.
I felt he was going to win the whole time too, but my feeling came from, I had a niece that went to Central Michigan University, so I got to go to Muncie, into Michigan and stuff, and I met, people from all these areas, and regardless of their color or their, religion, everybody was out of work. So everybody goes, what drives it, and it's jobs.
Welcome back. ¿Cómo estás? Shalom. Welcome back. It's Table Talk Tuesday right here on Liquid Lunch on NEWSMAX TV. I'm John Tobacco. Coming to you today live as we do every day from the Question Tequila Studios, noon to 2 Eastern, live. And this show is about to get even liver when we bring in the Mintus Cat around. It's Jadan Horyn. He's a conservative columnist and activist, and he's also a contributor to Metropolitan Magazine and one of the freshest dressed fellows I know.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for joining us, my friend.
Pleasure.
So, first and foremost, have we had enough of this guy, Mike Bloomberg? Is he ever going to go away?
I don't think so. I think, Mike Bloomberg fully believes that the Democratic Party of Joe Biden is the Democratic Party of the past. And, he really believes that if Biden falls apart, that there's room for a former Republican, then former independent, now Democrat, to run. And, when you have $51 billion, I guess you feel the calling to be President of the United States.
$1
Billion. Billion dollars. Indeed.
Frankie, Bloomberg wasn't ever a Republican.
Well, he's a registered Republican.
I'm saying, but he wasn't ever that.
No, he's a registered Republican.
He's a liberal. He's a progressive. He's almost a socialist.
Those are ideological distinctions as opposed to partisan distinctions, right? So he was a registered Republican. He was elected.
He's like half the size of this guy. We should get Mike Bloomberg on a pint. On like a little one, because he's like pint size.
Mike Bloomberg's first term as mayor, he really did some laudable things, some great things. Second term was okay. Third term was a total disaster and helped pave the way for the chaos that we're seeing now. But isn't this sort of the same movie that we see every 4 months? I feel like I've been through this over the last 11 years, literally 50 times. Every 4 months, we see a different trial balloon. Bloomberg's running. Now Judge Judy coming out and saying he's the one that should be president. Al D'Amato saying he's going to run. I have no doubt that he's the person that's putting all this speculation out there, but I know he can afford to wait because of all his money, but at what point does he actually need to either become a candidate or say, look, I'm endorsing Joe Biden or whomever else?
I mean, if he wants to run as a Democrat, he needs to be able to participate in the Democratic debates, because otherwise he'll have to run as an independent. At some point in the very near future, he's going to have to determine whether or not he's going to run. And that requires taking it seriously, which when you throw out trial balloons all the time, I hate to say it, but you come across as rather insincere.
Yeah, it's like the boy who cried candidacy. This was the rub against Trump. Remember in 2016, he flirted in 2000, he flirted in 2008. Everyone thought he was not going to really run, but sure enough, he proved him wrong. What is the constituency for Mike Bloomberg, honestly? So I understand where Biden's constituency is. Oh, come on.
He's little. You're talking about him running.
I didn't notice you taking a shot at Mitch Daniels when Pat mentioned Mitch Daniels being little.
I don't even know who Mitch Daniels is.
That's part of his problem.
Former governor of Indiana.
No, but so,
what do
Jaden,
you think
seriously.
I know about Indiana?
So I understand.
Know about Indiana, Oklahoma. I don't know about that.
I understand the Warren-Sanders constituency. It's progressives who want things like single-payer health care, this and that. I understand the Biden constituency. It's people, in the Rust Belt. I understand Cory Booker and Kamala Harris, their blatant plays to ethnic politics. I understand Pete Buttigieg he's the gay veteran. What is Mike Bloomberg's constituency in the Democratic primary?
Finance bros.
Finance bros. Which we all know how many of them vote in the New Hampshire Democratic primary.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I mean that's the real irony.
Am I a finance bro?
You're a finance bro.
I'm a finance bro.
And he's not voting in the
Democratic primary.
And he's not voting for Bloomberg.
First of all, if you want to know something behind the scenes about Mike Bloomberg, he used his money and his charitable organizations to basically co-opt the New York City government. He paid off every councilman you could imagine through his nonprofit to get them to vote to give him a third term. He broke the term limits law for one shot by overpaying people. If anybody bastardized democracy, it was him. You got to agree with me on that.
I will correct the factual errors that you made a little later, but I agree with the sentiment behind what you said. So, Jadan, we're gonna talk about Columbus Day in just a little bit if we have time. But Maine now has Indigenous Peoples Day. They've gotten away with Columbus Day, and I understand even the District of Columbia has done away with Columbus Day. Is this accurate?
This is accurate. So
Good idea, bad idea? What do you think?
I think it's an idiotic idea. So the District of Columbia, which Columbia is an archaic poetic name for the United States, and it's the feminine version of Columbus. So literally the District of Columbus has decided that they're not going to acknowledge or celebrate Columbus because they believe that it somehow glorifies violence and evil and all these things that Columbus supposedly did to the indigenous people. Never mind that the actual history of Columbus Day in the United States is because of a lynching of 11 Italians in New Orleans, and then the continual and perpetual persecution of the Italian-American community in the United States. So it's actually like originally a pretty woke holiday here in the US, and now our so-called woke people are trying to take a holiday that was designed to celebrate Italian-Americans and destroy it in the name of somehow creating justice for people from 500 years ago. I mean, it's literally idiocracy.
All right. Well, you got to break us down what's happening with the Syria Kurd situation. We were seeing images of Kurds being slaughtered earlier in the week. Today,
I didn't see that. I didn't see that. You saw an image of a Kurd being slaughtered.
Well, yeah.
I saw an image from like a Virginia gun range that ABC News was saying was the Turks attacking Syria. Oh, by the way, we made a small mistake. That wasn't the Kurds being bombed in Syria. That was a gun range right here in good old USA.
So, Jadan,
ABC News, fake news.
Jadan, now the Russians come out and they say they're going to protect the Kurds. What are the national security implications of this? What are the political implications of this?
Look, this is 2019, but it's the 1980s all over again. In the 1980s, the Soviet Union and the United States held a proxy war in Afghanistan, where Afghan allies of the United States were armed by the United States. Those same people turned around and used their weapons that they acquired from the CIA in the United States against us in the early 2000s. The Kurds ostensibly are our allies, but again, so are the Turks. And so what we have a problem here are multiple allies with multiple interests fighting each other, and somehow the U.S. is caught in the middle, which is exactly why the president wanted to extract us from the situation to begin with. Because at some point, it would deteriorate, and at some point, our so-called allies would turn on each other, and we would be friendly fire damage.
Jadan, we only have a minute left, but I'm going to do something very important because I've met your wife, and she's a beautiful woman, and I value your marriage.
One heck of a champagne
Taking
drinker.
your phone away. What is this story that phones are actually bad for relationships?
Yeah, so 73% of people feel that they are pressured to be on their phone all the time. And over 25% of people actually take their phone to bed. And 25% of people say, of those people that take it to bed, say it's the last thing they see. So they don't even see their spouse. They don't even look at their spouse. They're looking at their screen. So, I mean, you know, obviously this affects romance, this affects relationships, it affects communication, because if John is over here looking at his phone, then
I'm doing that the whole time. People
exactly.
are texting me,
then
and my
you know the
mom's
lovely
giving me
women
comments.
that he gets to spend time with will feel neglected.
Well, I can tell you this. The last thing I saw last night before I went to bed was my phone.
Yeah.
But there was a person in it on FaceTime, which was much more attractive than my phone.
Oh.
I must admit. So
Well,
that's not the worst thing.
Yeah,
you know,
that's not
a
the worst
little
thing.
FaceTime
Though I doubt that if
before
most people
bed,
end
you
with
can't
If you looked
FaceTime
anything like
anyone.
that CPA that visited us the other day, then
No.
you're a lucky
Let's
fella.
not go there.
Let's not.
That's not what we're talking about. But Jadan, despite Frank taking your phone, you're always ably prepared to give us a great performance.
You have to take a taxi
But
instead
no
of an
one
Uber now.
that I saw at the party performed better at taking out whatever was left over of the champagne favors from Frank's wedding than your wife.
Indeed.
She did
She
great.
said, I want champagne. I brought her over a bucket of those little bottles.
Thank you
I
again,
went out there in
honestly.
the morning. I was like, where did all these...
Sincerely, thank you both
Oh,
for making the trip all the way out to Staten
Mrs.
Island. I know it's a
Horyn.
hike for
Two
you
and a
guys.
half hours.
I know. Trust me, nobody
From Midtown.
appreciates the
It's a
power
hike.
of flame more than someone.
We
who's
don't
been there.
just do liquid lunch from 12 to 2. We do it every day and sometimes on the weekend.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah, do not try this at home. This could be hazardous to your health. If you want to hear today's broadcast in Spanish, you can hit the SAP button on your TV. But we're going to come right back after this with Italian-American, English-speaking Pat DeLeo, and he's going to tell you how small business owners are going to get the surprise of their life when they can cut their health insurance in half. Back right after this.